There's a part of you that you've been avoiding. You feel it in moments of frustration, in the silent resentment when someone crosses a boundary, in the thoughts you dismiss as not really me. But what if I told you that the key to your true purpose, your real self, is hidden in the very part of you that you try to suppress? Carl Jung called it the shadow, the unseen force in your psyche, made up of all the aspects of yourself that you've buried. Your doubts, your insecurities, your anger, even your deepest desires. Society told you to be a good person, to suppress these sides of yourself. But Jung didn't see the shadow as something evil. He saw it as a gateway, a hidden force that, once confronted, could unlock your highest potential. Think about it. Every great leader, every artist, every philosopher who changed the world didn't do so by avoiding their darkness. They met it head-on. Nietzsche, Dostoevsky, even Jung himself. These were men who walked the thin line between light and shadow, who understood that real transformation doesn't come from denying who you are, but from facing the parts of yourself that scare you the most. And yet, most people run. They distract themselves with entertainment, with social validation, with endless self-improvement hacks that don't actually change anything. Because looking into the shadow, that's terrifying. It's far easier to believe that your problems are external, that life is unfair, that people don't understand you, that you just need to manifest harder or think more positively. But deep down, you know the truth. The biggest battle isn't out there, it's inside you. Your shadow has been trying to reach you. It shows up in the things that trigger you, in the patterns you repeat, in the way you react when you're pushed to your limit. The question is, will you keep running from it? Or will you finally turn around and face it? Because when you do, something changes. The energy you spent suppressing your shadow gets redirected. Your creativity, your strength, your intuition, it all becomes sharper. You start making decisions from a place of deep self-awareness, rather than from fear. You become someone who can walk through life without being thrown off by every little obstacle, because you understand yourself at a level most people never reach. But how do you start? How do you stop avoiding the parts of yourself that you've ignored for years? That's where this journey begins, and it starts with a truth that most people aren't ready to hear. The moment you stop running from your shadow, something strange happens. You begin to see patterns that were invisible before. You start to realize that your greatest struggles, the things you thought were holding you back, were actually pointing you towards something deeper. But most people never make it this far. They stay trapped in a cycle of avoidance, mistaking comfort for peace and distractions for solutions. Take a look at how people react to discomfort. The moment they feel unease, they reach for their phone, turn on a show, go out drinking, or drown themselves in work. Why? Because silence is dangerous. Stillness forces you to sit with yourself, to confront the thoughts you've spent years suppressing. And the longer you've been running, the scarier it is to stop. But here's the paradox. The more you avoid your shadow, the more power it has over you. The triggers, the insecurities, the moments of self-sabotage, they don't just go away. They build up. They control your choices in ways you don't even realize. That random decision you made, that impulse you couldn't resist, that relationship pattern you keep repeating, it's not random. It's your shadow pulling the strings from the background, shaping your reality while you convince yourself you're in control. Jung believed that true freedom comes when you integrate your shadow. Not suppress it, not ignore it, but bring it into the light. He called it individuation, the process of becoming whole. And this is where most self-improvement advice completely misses the point. People think becoming better means fixing themselves, cutting out every flaw, forcing positivity, and avoiding negativity at all costs. But that's not growth. That's self-rejection. Real transformation happens when you acknowledge every part of yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and own it, not in a reckless, self-indulgent way, but in a way that gives you full control over your mind, your emotions, and your decisions. Look at the people who truly own themselves. They have a presence and energy that demands respect, not because they pretend to be perfect, but because they embrace their imperfections. They don't flinch when criticized. They don't crumble under pressure. They move through life with clarity because they've made peace with the parts of themselves that most people suppress. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. It takes brutal honesty, deep introspection, and the willingness to sit with emotions that most people would rather numb. It's uncomfortable, even painful at times. But that's the price of true self-mastery. And once you commit to this path, there's no going back. You start seeing through the illusions that once held you captive. You stop seeking validation from people who don't even understand themselves. You stop reacting emotionally to every little thing. You stop feeling the need to prove yourself because you've already faced your greatest opponent, your own mind. And that's when everything starts to change. Your relationships, your confidence, the way you move through the world, it all shifts. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped running from yourself. But how do you actually integrate the shadow? How do you take this abstract concept and turn it into something real? The answer lies in a practice that will challenge everything you think you know about yourself. The uncomfortable truth about your triggers. Most people think their emotions are just random waves that come and go, triggered by whatever happens in their day. Someone disrespects them, anger. They get ignored, insecurity. Something goes wrong, anxiety. But what if I told you that every single emotional reaction you have, every trigger, every moment of frustration, is actually a message, a signal from your subconscious that there's something unresolved lurking beneath the surface? Think about it. Have you ever noticed how two people can go through the exact same situation, yet react completely differently? One person shrugs it off, while the other spirals into overthinking and self-doubt. It's not the situation that causes the reaction. It's what the situation activates within you. And that's where your shadow comes in. Your shadow isn't just some vague concept. It's your repressed fears, your unhealed wounds, and every aspect of yourself that you've denied or rejected over the years. And it shows up in the most unexpected ways. The things that irritate you in others, they often reflect something in yourself that you haven't fully acknowledged. The fears that hold you back, they're often rooted in childhood experiences or past failures that still control you without you realizing it. Let's say someone criticizes you, and you feel an intense emotional reaction. Why? If you were completely secure in yourself, would their words really have any power? Probably not. But if their comment touches on something you secretly believe about yourself, some hidden insecurity you've been avoiding, then it hurts. Not because of what they said, but because deep down, part of you fears it might be true. This is why shadow work is so powerful. It's not about dwelling on the past or wallowing in negativity. It's about identifying these subconscious patterns, bringing them to the surface and stripping them of their power. Because the moment you can observe a trigger without being controlled by it, you've won. The moment you can feel an emotion without letting it dictate your behavior, you've reclaimed your power. Most people go through life letting their emotions control them. They react impulsively, get caught up in drama, and make decisions based on temporary feelings rather than real clarity. But when you start working with your shadow, when you take the time to truly understand yourself, everything shifts. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop living on autopilot and start making conscious choices. This is why the most powerful people in history, the ones who could remain calm in chaos, who could make decisions under extreme pressure, were the ones who had mastered themselves. They weren't controlled by their emotions because they had already faced their demons. They had already looked into the darkest corners of their mind and made peace with what they found. And this isn't just some abstract philosophy. It's something you can train yourself to do. It's a skill, one that takes time, but one that will completely change the way you navigate the world. But how exactly do you do this? How do you uncover your hidden triggers and use them to your advantage rather than letting them control you? You've probably heard the phrase, know thyself. Sounds simple, right? But here's the thing. Most people don't actually know themselves. They think they do, but what they really know is just the version of themselves they've constructed to fit into the world. The version that's socially acceptable. The version that doesn't stir the pot, that doesn't make mistakes, that doesn't challenge the norm. But beneath that polished exterior, there's something else. A part of you that's been buried under years of conditioning, expectations, and self-doubt. A part of you that holds the raw, unfiltered truth about who you are, what you fear, and what you're actually capable of. That's your shadow. And the longer you ignore it, the more it controls you from the background. Ever wonder why you keep repeating the same toxic patterns? Why you attract the same kinds of relationships? struggle with the same self-sabotaging habits, or react the same way to criticism, it's because your shadow is pulling the strings. You're playing out the same internal conflicts over and over again without realizing it. It's like this. Imagine your mind is a house. The rooms you let people see, that's your conscious self, the part you're comfortable with, the parts of yourself you're proud of, the identity you've crafted. But then there's the basement, and down there, that's where all the uncomfortable stuff gets shoved. The insecurities you pretend don't exist, the fears you don't talk about, the emotions you suppress because they don't fit the image you want to present. And here's the problem. Just because you ignore what's in the basement doesn't mean it disappears. It leaks out in ways you don't expect. The anger that flares up out of nowhere, the jealousy that creeps in when you see someone else succeed, the insecurity that eats away at you even when things are going well, that's the basement whispering to you. And most people, when they start to notice these things, they do one of two things. They either push it down even further, distract themselves with work, social media, constant entertainment, or they project it onto others. They blame their problems on the world, on their circumstances, on the people around them. They do everything except actually look at what's causing it. But here's the real power move. The thing that separates those who stay stuck from those who break free. Instead of running from the shadow, you turn and face it. You sit with it. You acknowledge it. You take an honest look at yourself, not the Instagram filtered version, not the version your friends or family expect, but the real, raw, unpolished truth. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's going to reveal things you don't like. It's going to challenge the way you see yourself. But on the other side of that, freedom. Because once you've faced it, once you've pulled those hidden fears into the light, they lose their power. The things that used to trigger you, they don't hit as hard. The insecurities that used to dictate your actions, they don't run the show anymore. Imagine walking through life, knowing that nothing anyone says can shake you. No criticism, no rejection, no failure can knock you off balance. Not because you've become cold or emotionless, but because you've already made peace with your own darkness. You've already seen the worst parts of yourself, and instead of running, you integrated them. That's real power. That's what most people never do. And that's why so many stay stuck, repeating the same cycles. But once you do this work, once you really see what's been holding you back, you can't unsee it. And from that point on, your life will never be the same. But there's one final piece to this, something most people overlook. Facing your shadow is one thing, but integrating it, that's a whole different level. And that's exactly where we're going next. So you've turned to face your shadow. You've seen what's been lurking beneath the surface, your fears, insecurities, and the hidden parts of yourself you've been avoiding. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think that just seeing their shadow is enough. That awareness alone will set them free. It won't. Just because you've identified your fears doesn't mean they disappear. Just because you recognize your patterns doesn't mean they stop repeating. If anything, the moment you become aware of your shadow, it actually fights back harder. It doesn't want to be exposed. It doesn't want to be brought into the light. And if you're not careful, you'll end up trapped in an endless loop of self-analysis, constantly digging into your past, overthinking every move, questioning every emotion, without ever actually changing. That's why integration is the real key, because transformation isn't about fighting your shadow. It's about working with it. Think about this. The parts of you that you reject, the ones you've buried deep down, aren't bad. They're just misunderstood. Your anger, it's not just destructive. It's a force that can drive change. Your fear, it's not just an obstacle. It's a signal pointing you towards something important. Even your deepest insecurities, the ones you hate to admit, carry a message. They show you where your wounds are, where you need to heal, where you have room to grow. Carl Jung said it best. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that's what most people do. They go through life thinking things are just happening to them, not realizing they're actually playing out patterns they haven't faced. They repeat the same toxic relationships, fall into the same self-destructive habits, react the same way to the same situations, and then wonder why nothing changes. But once you integrate your shadow, you break the cycle. You stop being a slave to old wounds, old beliefs, old conditioning. You start to respond instead of reacting. So how do you do this? First, stop resisting your emotions. When something triggers you, don't just push it away. Observe it. Ask yourself, why is this affecting me? What belief is this poking at? Where does this come from? The more you sit with these emotions instead of running from them, the more clarity you gain. Second, take responsibility for your projections. If you constantly find yourself annoyed by a certain type of person, ask yourself why. What part of them reflects something in you that you haven't accepted? Because the things that trigger us the most in others are often the things we haven't faced within ourselves. And finally, use your shadow, don't fight it. If you feel jealousy, don't just suppress it. Use it as a guide. What does it show you about what you truly desire? If you feel anger, don't let it consume you. Channel it into something productive. If you feel fear, don't let it paralyze you. See it as an invitation to step into something greater. Now, if this resonated with you, don't just let it be another interesting idea you forget about. Take action. Start observing your patterns. Start questioning your reactions. And if you want more insights like this, make sure to subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because this isn't just knowledge, it's a shift that can change everything.